Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Spot Connection with the weekly comic book roundup. We're going to get things started with New Mutants number 7. So, we left off with the New Mutants, focusing more on the ones in space. The primary team, consisting of Sunspot, Cannonball, Magic, Chamber, Wolfsbane, Cypher, Mirage, Karma, Chamber and Mondo, were escorting Deathbird back to the Shi'ar throne world of Chandalar. However, Oracle of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard was not in favor of returning Deathbird to power, and called in the Shi'ar Death Commandos to, well, kill everyone aboard the ship. And at the end of the issue, it seemed like maybe they succeeded a bit. So we start off. Turns out that Magic saved Mondo and Chamber. However, Cannonball, Sunspot, Deathbird, and Cannonball's wife, the Imperial Guardsman Smasher, had been taken prisoner by the Death Commandos. Bobby, and Cypher, yes. The Death Commandos tortured the New Mutants, especially Cypher. Deathbird was able to escape into their ship, and rescue Sunspot, and they claim the ship as their own. About the time that Magic and crew teleported over, and it turns out that what happened in that adventure was supposed to be the issue. And we get a nifty little breaking of the fourth wall by Sunspot and Mirage, as they explain, as she explains that one, that was supposed to be this issue. The issue when you just recapped, it was supposed to be this issue. Though Bobby is shocked to discover that there are New Mutants stories that he's not a part of. So on Chandalar, Zandra Naramani, the niece of Deathbird and the future Majestrix of the Shi'ar Imperium, is waiting on the arrival of her aunt, who's supposed to teach her, basically teach her how to be royalty. And Gladiator, or she asks Gladiator what she should expect of her aunt, and he simply tells her a bird of prey. And also, Cypher is able to get information from the last droid Death Commando, a sentient lethal ball of living gas known as Sega. And it turns out the Imperial Guard had a hand in the attack. So first, Deathbird's mad there's a conspiracy to kill her. 2, Smasher's pissed because, well, conspiracy included, her fellow guardsmen and targeted her. So they arrive at Chandelar, and Deathbird immediately picks a fight with Gladiator, who actually had nothing to do with this. Everything gets explained, big fight. I haven't played out the RPG scenario. No, really. RPG scenario. All about D6s. But good guys triumphed. A portal got planted in Cannonball and Smasher's home. Nice little get together, with the X people on Chandelar, and Cannonball explains to Sunspot that he's staying with his wife and kid on Chandelar. And Sunspot's going to stay there with him. Meanwhile, basically an alliance is made between, alliance. An agreement has come to between Gladiator and Cyclops to plant a Krakoan portal flower on a specific celestial body in orbit of Chandelar. Gladiator's totally fine with this. And, later on, after everyone's gone, everyone but not Colossus, Cannonball and Sunspot have gone back to Earth. The two are discussing the fact that, Smasher, Cannonball's wife, has said that Sunspot can't crash in their apartment. And it turns out he bought their apartment building. They're getting a discount on the increased rent, though. Rent prices. And Sunspot kind of like, we're going to get into so much trouble. And that is where the issue ends. Next up, we've got Marauders, number 8. Where we left off in Marauders, Lockheed had washed up near Madripoor Bay, and Bishop was investigating the fact that Kate had yet to return from the Marauders' most recent mission. Also, the villain Yellow Jacket was basically injected into Pyro. So that's not going to be a thing until the next issue. So we begin on Mars with Emma and Christian Frost taking some of the mutant children on a tour of the various production facilities for creating the Krakoan drugs. However, before they leave to go back to Krakoa, Bishop contacts Emma, lets her know that he's found Kate. So Emma and Christian, Emma has Christian take the children. She summons forth the Marauders, Iceman meets up with her and Christian on the Mercury. And yeah, it's confirmed that it's Kate, and she's dead. However, has made it, and well, to say that Iceman is extremely angry about the fact that Kate has been murdered is putting it lightly. In fact, Emma has to, or no, not Emma, Bishop. Bishop has to somewhat remind him of the first law. And then Emmett also tells Storm, and it's actually a touching moment. But it also does show that yes, Emma as a character is still a changing character. In the Black Keep, however, Shinobi, it turns out, has recruited some people into the Black Court. The Strucker twins, better known as Fenris, who it should be noted were also members of the Upstarts alongside Shinobi Shaw. We also got a Red Diamond. Wherein Sinister suggests growing a new Krakoa and leaving just the Strucker twins on it. We get some shade thrown at Kate's absence, as not everyone yet knows about her death. It seems as though Quentin Quire's been placed on a wait list by Jumbo. Also, Stinger, the first mutant pregnancy on Krakoa, is announced as former wild child Stinger. And we've got question of who. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who are the grossest mutants of them all? No, not the Morlocks. Don't push down, muties. Well, it's not for me to say, but keep your eyes on a swivel, and you may spot them when you think you're seeing double. Though, it's in reference to Fenris. The issue ends, however, back on Madripoor. The young girl who fished out Lockheed is nursing him back to health, and he's alive and still able to breathe fire. And that is where the issue ends. Moving on, we've got Wolverine #1. This is actually a long one. It's honestly there's two full-length stories in this issue, in this first issue. So the new Wolverine book is written by Benjamin Percy, who's also writing X-Force, which features Wolverine, and drawn by Adam Kubert, who in fact drew Wolverine back in the early to mid '90s. So he begins somewhere in Alaska. Logan is healing. Something messed him up, but good. And he looks over and discovers that he's killed X-Force, Jean, Quentin. No, not entirely sure he feels too bad about that, and Domino. And he knows he did it. The wounds are grouped in three. All the wounds on them are grouped in threes. Yeah. However, there are footprints leading away. So now we gotta figure out where they lead. Flashback to 5 days ago on Krakoa. A group of the mutant children are playing hide and seek with Logan. To bring the game to an end, however, Jean yanks Logan out of his hiding place as Kate's waiting for him down at Hellfire Bay. And the two of them have some whiskey and discuss things, and she brings up that somehow the Hellfire Corporation is losing product. Started off a few pounds here or there, then a quarter shipment, then on occasion a full load. Sometimes mind pedals go missing. Sometimes antibody pedals go missing. They don't know who's responsible or what they're doing with the product, but it can't be good. Cut to Baltimore. John Bannister made claims to be a member of the CIA. Is investigating a crime scene with the FBI. It appears to be a drug lab. It looks like it's cartel on cartel violence. Bannister notes everyone who was killed here seemed to have been killed with self-inflicted wounds. And this is apparently the nicest smelling drug lab that Bannister has been in. As he states, drug lab makes him feel like he's stuck on the tailpipe of a bus burning hot garbage for fuel. This place smells like gardens and grandmas. We are right, apparently there's an epidemic level street drug that's recently hit the streets of the Marvel Universe called pollen. There are many versions available worldwide, but the only consistent source of product comes from the so-called Flower Cartel, which is believed to be involved in a violent campaign to wipe out any competition and interference. Oh, it's Jeff, not John. Jeff Bannister is a senior narcotics agent, notable for his decorated history in the Sinaloa and Chihuahua states of Mexico, as well as his undercover work in Colombia and Venezuela. Divorced, but he has a daughter. Him and his ex-wife have a daughter who has leukemia, and when she was diagnosed, he requested and was granted a stateside transfer. Since then, he's been investigating pollen, reporting to multiple spheres, one of whom he suspects has a shadow group within the agency devoted to mutant surveillance. When he proposed to arrange a covert operation with a team posing as members of the narcotics trade eager to do business with the Flower Cartel, whereas he was basically given an almost immediate green light and seemingly unlimited resources, whereas normally there would be all manner of red tape to deal with. The write-up further explains that Bannister's orders are unclear. On the one hand, his superiors seem to wholeheartedly endorse his proposal to crack down on the Flower Cartel. On the other hand, he has taken several calls from the FBI, FBN, DEA, FDA, and even the State Department, all cite dissatisfaction with the manufacture, regulation, and distribution of Krakoan pharmaceuticals. And they have unproven suspicions that a mounting black market may tie back to the Hellfire Trading Company. And he has been asked by the people he's spoken to on these calls if the situation permits to keeping channels open. Because collaborating with the drug traffickers will allow for a campaign of espionage, subversion, sabotage, and possibly profit. The Flower Cartel has since proposed a meeting in Alaska. Now we're at 4 days ago on Krakoa. Sage has managed to potentially find out where maybe some of it could be found. Just outside of Moscow. So Gateway takes Wolverine, Jean, Domino, and Quentin to Moscow. Bannister's given information on what was being manufactured in the lab, and yeah, pollen. We also learned that it apparently gives the user an exalted feeling, like your brain is twice as smart and your body twice as strong. Bannister speaks to his daughter, and he's trying to make sure she can get the treatment she needs. Then we have a write-up on the Order of X. Generally speaking, the Order of X has no centralized leadership, and are you generally just really a cult that worships mutants. Almost all members somehow brandish an X. Some around their necks like a crucifix or a Star of David. However, scarification and branding is also not uncommon. Usually, the mouth is most frequent. This is the most common place for such marks. And overall, the Order's theology appears to be based on devotion and humility. There are extremists who appear to believe that the sacrificing and consumption of mutants is the path to a higher plane. So now we're on 3 days ago in Russia. X-Force arrives, crashing an Order of X sermon. Everyone takes some pollen, and Quentin jumps into the crowd, and then realizes, oh, they actually want to kill and eat me. Then all the members die. From the pollen they're taking. Takes a couple days, but Logan manages to do some digging, and goes and talks to members of the Russian mafia. Learns about the Flower Cartel and the Pale Girl. Quoting what's written in the issue from the Russian mobster. At first, she is the one we are dealing with, at the Flower Cartel. She sells the pollen, but only if we work for her. Takes 80%. It's a bad deal. So we steal pills from a hospital in Sokovia. Try to grow our own. Doesn't make her happy. Says they work with her or else. Apparently, she made the mobster that Logan's talking to pull out his lighter, put the flame to his eye, and basically cook his eye in its own socket. And there are two separate briefings going on about the Flower Cartel. One at the Point on Krakoa, the other one at CIA headquarters in Langley. So Logan has been following the footsteps and comes upon the pale girl. Pops his claws and is about to attack when he runs into Agent Bannister and his men, who are asking who he is. Which all Logan can say is, I've been wondering the same thing. The second story yes, this was begins with Wolverine kind of discussing the fact that the island's always changing, and it's a little odd. Enemies being friends, and well, he does mean he's living proof people can change. However, maybe not everyone. And so Omega Red comes through a portal, asking for amnesty, covered in blood no less. Wolverine goes after him, and Magneto stops him. The two of them have a chat, and Magneto throws Logan through the gate that Omega Red just came out of, where Logan finds a car dripping with blood dripping from it, and what appears to be a bunch of drained bodies in the trunk. Logan goes back to Krakoa and suggests, hey, keep him restrained. Heal him, but keep him restrained. And Logan continues, yeah, hey, all right. So Apocalypse is here. Magneto, you're here, Eric. Sinister's here, but this guy's different. Okay. I mean, Omega Red is a grade A psycho. And Magneto actually makes a really good point in saying, hey, there are those who would say the same about the two of us. So, he does some asking. He does question Omega Red a bit, and Red sends him to the King's Oubliette in Paris. Used to be a prison, but a flower seller offers Logan some dog roses, and he leaves, but he turns it down, goes inside, gets some absinthe, which he always felt the absinthe tasted a little like licking a freshly polished hardwood floor. However, the music stops and he notices everyone in the room staring at him. He wakes up, bound and hanging from a ceiling. Wolverine does manage to get loose, and turns out that the club in question is a vampire club, and they figure they can use him. Also, the flower seller from outside is a vampire hunter and helps Logan get free. And it turns out that the bodies in the trunk of the car that Omega Red was escaping from were vampires. Omega Red then tells Wolverine the story of Saint Julian. How Julian while hunting one day, came upon a stag before he could kill it. The stag spoke with prophecy, saying that Julian would be responsible for his parents' deaths. However, because Julian loved his parents, he tried to escape this fate by moving far away. For years, his parents sought him out, wondering why he left them. When they located him, they were old and weary and sick. They knocked. Julian's wife answered, heard the elderly come to the bed, and told him to rest and ran off for a doctor. While she was looking for a doctor, Julian came home and found two people asleep in his bed. He jumped to the conclusion that his wife was sleeping with another man, and in a blind rage took a sword and stabbed them both to death. But he doesn't tell Logan of the ending. Turns out the young flower seller and vampire hunter that helped Logan is a woman named Louise, a member of a holy order known as the Night Guard, devoted to fighting the vampire nation. So, they arm up, go into the catacombs. And they swarm Wolverine and then leave. With information having gotten back to none other than Dracula. So Omega Red is freed from bondage and meets with Dracula in Paris. Dracula gives him the carbonadium synthesizer. Well, that explains there's a detonator inside of it. And that basically meaning that Omega Red is in the service of Dracula. Telling him, join the mutants on Krakoa, but obey him. There's then a write-up on blood work, explaining there are 4 types of blood, A, B, and O, and each of these mean either Rh positive or negative, making for a total of 8 blood types. Further classification is based on antibodies and antigens, such as carbohydrates and proteins, making for a known total of 36 systems and 346 antigens. Then the math is further complicated by Wolverine. Not all blood is alike, but that is especially true of what runs beneath his skin. He is not merely resistant, but altogether impervious to infection, malignancy, autoimmune disorders, infinitely compatible with all other blood families, and has been shown to have a brief curative effect when transfused. In this way, it bears some resemblance to blood infected, or cursed, some say, by the bite of a vampire, making it kind of his closest cousin. There are some exceptions. Wolverine's body is not just the factory for his blood, it is the vault. Once it leaves him, the powers are soon suppressed and his compatibility deteriorates. Whereas a vampire's blood is malignant and virulent. Also, Wolverine's blood does not deteriorate when exposed to ultraviolet light. One could say that Wolverine's blood and vampire blood belong to the same group but a different type. One positive, one negative. Further on going on, say, one might call it type E, endless. And that is where the issue ends. It's kind of nice to see a cover like this. Reminds me of one of the earliest single issues of Wolverine's first ongoing I ever bought. Wolverine number 50, which was the cover of which was designed to look like a file folder that had been sliced open and had images pertaining to the issue and linked and hinted that secrets of Wolverine's past would be revealed. Anyway, moving on to Deadpool number 3. Where we left off, Deadpool was fighting Kraven the Hunter. Deadpool, now King of the Monsters, was fighting Kraven the Hunter on Staten Island. And seemingly disappeared when shot with an odd bullet fired by Elsa Bloodstone. So Elsa asks if all the monsters are alright. They promptly accuse her of killing the king, and she said that no, she didn't. And even if she did, what are they going to do? By their own dodgy rules, if she kills him, she's the king. But yeah, it's a teleporting bullet. explaining that it's something new she's trying out, infusing bullets with the blood of a bone beast monster that she was able to harness or and you blood of a bone beast monster made her, which caused her to be able to harness the bone beast's teleportation abilities. So teleporting bullets. So Kraven continues his hunt for the monsters. Um, and Deadpool kind of realizes he really doesn't know his followers. And so, well, turns out he has, of course, he just bought the expansion pack for the Monsters of the Marvel Universe card set. So we've got the Night Wolf. We've got Quonian, Bun Bun the Destroyer, Kolob the Pile, Zargo, of course, Jeff the Landshark. And they find, Kraven finds them, and so the decision made, okay, they'll protect the king. And Deadpool comes up with a plan. Turns out that Kolob the Pile has a portal within it. Has a portal at the center of his pile. And so, Deadpool orders the other monsters to go through. So, I mean, don't worry, I'll be right behind you. But he's lying and kicks the last of Kolob through. And now it's Deadpool versus Kraven. First thing Kraven does is slice Deadpool's throat so he, can't talk for a few minutes. But his speech abilities come back, and the fight manages to turn in favor of Deadpool as the issue comes to an end. All right, and next up, moving on from this week's X-Men books to this week's Spider-Man book, Ghost Spider number 7. Where we left off in Ghost Spider, another odd thing had happened. Sue and Johnny Storm, a couple of social media influencers on Gwen's Earth, suddenly reappeared after having been missing for 5 years when they first went to visit the country of Latveria. And so we begin with Captain Stacy explaining to 4 years. They go back between 4 and 5 years throughout the issue, so yeah. But Captain Stacy explains that they've been missing for multiple years. People did look for them. We also get their quick origin. It turns out that Professor Franklin Storm, their father, renowned physicist in our 616, well, it turns out that he was a serial killer. And so various members of society blacklisted the Storms. However, thanks to social media, Mary Storm was able to profit off of her, was basically able to continue to live in the lap of luxury. And it seems that the Storms just suddenly appeared in the middle of Times Square. But Mary Storm shows up, takes her children, and leaves. The next morning, Gwen wakes up late, wondering why her dad didn't wake her up, but notices he's not home. She swings to the station, saves the kid from getting hit by a bus, and finds out from her dad that Johnny and Sue Storm are alive after all. They're not the only ones who are making this discovery, though. The Maker, the Reed Richards of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe, has also discovered this. We also learned that this may have been previously established in older Spider-Gwen titles or issues, but I haven't read them, so it's new for me. Apparently, Reed Richards on Earth 65 is a 12-year-old boy. So, yeah. So, Gwen takes the day off, feeds herself, feeds the costume, does some web slinging, saves a woman with a dog in an alley from being mugged. However, the guns the muggers used are destroyed with a sudden blast of flame. And then Ghost Spider comes along and knocks them out. The woman she saved, so she really liked the fire trick. She does some looking around, but no one seems to be there. She thinks it's an odd coincidence that Johnny Storm is back in town and suddenly someone's using fire on her bad guys. Doesn't seem like a coincidence to her. And thinks maybe she needs to go pay a visit to the Storms, who are basically setting up their big return to society. And that is where the issue ends. I'm actually very curious to see what the Maker's got planned here, because his comments actually do reference his plan from Absolute Carnage. And I have to wonder if maybe that's something that's going to be a major part of things. Anywho, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.